Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be breaking down the Draftkings 12-game slate for Sunday. It is a large slate in comparison to how things have been this season. However, we don't have any true stud pitching options. The highest price pitcher is only 9.4K. So there's going to be lots of different routes that you can go with cash, and obviously with such a large slate, GPP ownerships are going to be a little low on the teams, the stacks, which is always a great thing. Let's look into the weather real quick. Only 2 games that are sticking out to me for possible weather concerns at the moment. Obviously, make sure you're keeping up to the minute with it, and also keeping up to the minute with COVID-related news as well. You never know when a positive test is going to come through, and a game gets postponed through that. So make sure you're paying attention to the weather and COVID. But related to which games are a concern, we got Boston and Minnesota. Those are the 2 games. They're only like 50% at the moment, so I don't expect any postponement to happen. Obviously, things can get worse. Things can also get better, and that's why you need to be paying attention right up through a lock. So let's go ahead and look through the pitchers here. Right up at the top, Brandon Woodruff. He's only 9.4K. Like I said, there's no real stud pitcher on this slate, but there's also, I didn't count, but probably 10 or more pitchers that are 8K and above. So they're all in that mid-tier range, but I think there's a lot of good options here. Brandon Woodruff leading the slate here at 9.4K price-wise. He's very similar to Peralta in that he's facing the Cubs for the 3rd time again this season. He's a high strikeout pitcher. The first 2 times he faced the Cubs this season, he mowed them down. So question is, can he do it a 3rd time around? You know, Peralta, 3rd time around, he only made it 4 innings just because of his pitch count getting really high. And he finished with 15 DK points. Woodruff, who knows? I'm not interested in him in cash because of the next guy, Giolito, right here, right under him at 9.1K. He's going against a weak Texas offense, who is actually the #1 strikeout team in the majors. They've been doing so poor lately that they have claimed that #1 spot at a 29% strikeout rate. Now, Giolito was approaching 10K earlier this season, and that was against much tougher matchups. Like I said, he's got an easy matchup today against Texas, and his price got dropped. Probably due to, in part, him getting absolutely destroyed by the Red Sox on Patriots Day. But they learned their lesson. Never bet against Boston on Patriots Day there. So how much stock do you really put into that? That's your question. But I don't really put too much into it at all. I prefer Giolito over a lot of these guys that are up in this range. Ryu, okay to start the year facing Tampa Bay. He's 9K. If you're going to pay 9K for a pitcher, just move up 100 to Giolito. You can find the 100 in your lineup somewhere. John Means, 8.9. Again, another phenomenal start to the season. He only has 1 earned run in his 3 starts. He's not a bad pitcher at all. If you look at it like last year, his strikeout percentage is the same. His hits per 9 is nearly the same. His whip is fractionally different. Walks are up this season. So really the one major thing that's changed with Means this year is that he's straining runners on base. But he's going against Oakland. Again, if you're paying that much for a pitcher here, just find the 200 to go up to Giolito. McCullers, I don't know who rostered McCullers. I did the last time he pitched, and he got destroyed by Detroit. And then it came out after the game that he was actually having major side effects to his second COVID shot. And he actually had to be hooked up to an IV after the game. He was feeling so bad. So I wish we would have had that information beforehand. So I can just throw that start out the window. But even so, he's still facing against the Angels. No interest there. Zach Gallen. And I'm going to combine him here with McKenzie too, because they're right next to each other, 8.6 and 8.5. Gallen and McKenzie are very similar. They both have very high K rates, but they also have some control issues. So they have the high walk rates, the high K rates, and when that happens, your pitch count goes up pretty quickly. Gallen has only gone 4. He had a start of 4 innings and it went 82 pitches. He only allowed 1 earned run in those 4 innings, but he was at 82 pitches. In his other start, he went 5 innings, only 4 hits, but he was at 98 pitches. So when you're the high strikeout, a lot of swing and miss, but also a lot of walks, you're getting deep into counts with each batter that you face, and that pitch count goes up. So I don't mind these guys for GPP at all, just because of that high strikeout percentage. But if they got to control the walk rate, because their pitch count soar, and next thing you know, they're close to 100 pitches, and it's only the 5th inning here. Flaherty, his K rate's down this season. He was hovering around that coveted 30% K rate past couple of seasons. He's dropped to 23% so far this year. So it's going to go up eventually. He's a guy who they are perfectly fine with him going 100 or more pitches. You know, he does have that strikeout potential, just not the best matchup against Cincinnati. And with all these guys, I'm kind of leaning down to Danny Duffy. And Danny Duffy is really the pitcher that I'm also going to be looking at in cash here. Facing Detroit, Duffy's a lefty, and the Detroit offense has just been pitiful against left-handed pitchers. They got a 33% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching this season, a 236 WOBA. That's more than 30 points lower than anybody else or any other offense in the league. 30 points. So they're just awful against left-handed pitching. And Duffy's been incredible so far to start the season. 3 very, very strong starts, and now he's going against Detroit, who is just, like I said, he's terrible. So in between there, you got Talion, Rodriguez, Bundy. Not too much interest. Like I said, if you're going in that lower 8K range, I'm probably just going to slide down to Duffy. I got nothing against those guys. I think they could be some decent GPP plays. Talion's going against Cleveland. Cleveland's the 2nd worst WOBA in the majors against right-handed pitching. But the question is, how long does Talion go? He hasn't gone more than 5 innings so far this season. Kind of seems like he's on like an 80 pitch limit. So not sure how far he goes. Everyone else below that 8K spot is I'm not really too interested in. But like I said, without having to pay for like a 10K or close to 11K pitcher here, I don't think you're really going to be having any salary issues where you need to jump super low. So 2 favorite guys, Giolito and Duffy at 9.1 and 8K. I don't mind any other guys in the middle there. Like I said, I can make an argument for pretty much all of them, but I mean, maybe not Ryu. I don't know. But Giolito and Duffy are the 2 that I'm going to be focusing on. Everybody else in the middle, GPP only. He got some good K upside guys with McKenzie and Gallen, but that's it. So let's look to the batch real quick here. 3 teams that I'm going to be focusing on. The first one's St. Louis. Now, if you guys know, or if you guys have been watching these videos, you probably laughed a little bit there. Because I am just fascinated with this St. Louis offense this season. And that is because of how boom or bust they have been. 8 of their past 9 games so far this season, they've either scored 2 or fewer or 9 or more. So there is no in between here with them. And really, they're never highly owned. I'm stacking them every single day that they play. And their ownership is very low. On Friday, they had a 1% ownership. I got their 1 through 6 hitters all under 2% ownership. So now we're in a 12-game slate. It's going to be spread out ownership. So unlike in St. Louis here, they're going up against Castillo, who has blow-up potential. We know that. And St. Louis is actually a top 5 home run hitting team so far this season. But, you know, they can also string together the hits. You might get a stolen base here from a guy like Edman. So I like this spot a lot. Even if I wasn't so focused on them this season, I still think this is a great spot for them. as you guys know, I love stats, and this is just a wild stat so far this season. So on the mound for St. Louis is Flaherty. And in Flaherty's 4 starts so far this season, St. Louis has scored 44 runs. They've put up 11, 14, 12, and 7 runs. So if you're weird, or not weird, because I like the weird stats, but if you think that that means anything at all, it doesn't. St. Louis should just be that much better of a play there. So I'm loving St. Louis. I think they're great for GPP. I also think they're a great cash play as well. Other team I'm focusing on with bats is the New York Mets. Their offense has been putrid. This is a GPP play here. Been putrid. They only have 2 games so far where they've scored 5 or more runs. And in those 2 games, it was 5 runs and 6 runs. So they just can't get this offense together. And every day that goes by, their ownership is just getting lower and lower and lower because people do not want to play them. Now, I mentioned them in Saturday's video, and it didn't work out. But I think they're in a much better spot right now. They're going up against Corbin. And Corbin has a 46% hard hit rate this season, which is downright laughable. I mean, that's incredible. We've seen him get rocked already. And these Mets batters as a team, they've owned Corbin. Now, I'm not a batter versus pitcher guy. I don't think those stats really mean anything at all. But it's hard to argue with how the Mets projected lineup on Sunday has done historically against Corbin. I went through, I calculated all the data here, and excluding the pitcher, obviously, but 120 at-bats, they're hitting 325 against Corbin as a team. So it's not just one guy having 60 at-bats against him and everybody else is at like 5, 6, 7. No, there's, I think the most was, let me check here. The most was 26 at-bats, and then 25, 23, 18, 19. It's very spread out. So they're all doing very well. So I think that could be a sneaky little stack. And you want to be on that Mets train when their offense finally does click before everybody else gets on it. It's kind of like the Cubs 2.0. The Cubs, on paper, great offense. We knew they were a great offense, but ownership just getting lower and lower and lower when they're having a bad start to the season. But as soon as they started hit, 15 runs on Wednesday, and then 13 runs on Friday, now their ownership is starting to climb back up. So New York Mets. And then the last one I'm going to give you guys is Kansas City. They're going to be going up against Fulmer, who, if you look at the numbers, he's having like the greatest stretch of his career so far to start the season. And that's still with him posting numbers. He's got great control right now. He's only allowed 2 walks in his starts, but he does have a slight home run issue as well as the hits. Combine that with he doesn't really go more than 4 or 5 innings. And so we're going to be seeing a lot of the worst bullpen in baseball with Detroit. Now, Kansas City, they got shut down on Saturday against Boyd for 8 innings, but Boyd pitched 8 innings. We didn't really see that terrible Detroit bullpen like we thought we were going to. But this time we definitely will. So Kansas City, they have the power, they have just the contact, the hits, and they also have the stolen base upside as well. I think they're a great all-around team. Those are the 3 that I'm really going to be heavy on. St. Louis, the Mets, and Kansas City. You can also look at our teams like Minnesota, Arizona is interesting. But yeah, and obviously all those other stud-loaded offenses. So just to kind of recap here, lots of options to go at pitcher. You can make an argument for most of the top half. I would say from Danny, Duffy, and up, you can make a good argument of why they would be in your lineup. But for me, it's probably going to be Giolito and Duffy at the moment, for cash at least. Everybody else, I think, is more than a fine play. As far as bats, give me St. Louis, give me the Mets, and give me Kansas City. Weather, Boston concern, Minnesota concern. Always make sure you're on top of that and paying attention to the weather and to possible COVID issues. So that kind of wraps things up here. I hope to see you guys in our Discord here shortly. We have a bunch of free rooms that you guys can check out. The MLB room is a premium, but pricing very reasonable. So as always, hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, give us some feedback, what you like, what you don't like. We read every single comment, and we really do appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving us. So thank you very much for watching this video, and good luck in your contest today.